All right, thanks again for staying with us on your ultimate news and current affairs program on television this morning on ITV Thursday's edition. Now we'll go straight to a major talking point on the show. We want to look at the recent development in the build-up to the Edo State local government election. There is a subsisting court judgment or order restraining the Edo State Independent Electoral Commission from carrying out that exercise. Just yesterday, Justice Ayomire Tad told us that the commission is going ahead with the plans of preparation because they are yet to receive serve from the restraining order. But let me quickly welcome our panelists for this discussion, as much as time would permit us to have. Barrister Abraham Oviawe is a civil society activist. Barrister Abraham, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Sonny, and good morning.
We also have here Barrister Sonny Daudu, a member of the NBA Benin Branch Executive. Thank you for joining us, Barrister Sonny.
Thank you very much, sir.
We also have joining us via WhatsApp call, Bob Manuel Umur. Bob Manuel, thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, we also have Idris Zachary. Idris, thank you for joining us on the program.
It's always a delight to be here to share perspective on issues. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, thank you. We had a bit of a technical challenge to get you guys on Zoom, but as you know, the show must always go on. That's our rule. Thank you. Okay, let me start with our panelists here in the studio. The local government election in Edo State has been in a checkered state, so to speak, with the announcement made, and then reactions started trailing it about the time frame for the election. But that has been taken care of because there is a law guiding the conduct of the election. Let me begin with you, Barrister Oviawe.
First, the question I've continued to ask myself is that we had expected local government administration in the state in the last 2 years, when the last administration of the first set of executive turned to an end. We had expected that no notice of elections would have apparently come. The laws that guide such elections provide for 45 days notice for which elections should be held. Well, I'm worried. Why the rush? Why the abridgment of time by way of an amendment to 15 days? And sadly, that amendment has been done within the time limit of 45 days preceding the election in itself. And that may make this really retroactive. To my mind, I feel that what is in it? Why the desperation of abridging 45 days to 15 days? You and I know it's not sufficient for any political party who truly wants to contest, interface with the people, say their manifestos, and put things in perspective to conduct the said elections. And in itself, that has apparently happened. And you know politicians they are filled with several wonders. What we have seen is not different from what we should expect. That is not to say that across board in the country, local government elections have always taken this pattern of the incumbent government trying to take it all. That's also not to say that when you have a situation where the incumbent have performed creditably well and his party is fully on ground and the elections is conducted in a free and fair manner, that the incumbent will not have majority of local government being won by them. The point being made here is that the law provides for 45 days notice. Why do you amend it to be 15 days? Again, you will find this kind of arrangement where you have a House of Assembly where only 10 persons now operate, and they are subject to the whims and caprices of the incumbent. So, in my mind, I feel that 15 days is inappropriate. More so that amendment, that abridgment of time by way of an amendment was done within the 45 days period preceding the elections. That in itself makes it retroactive. Okay. And I feel it is wrong, it's not proper, and any discerning mind should condemn such abridgment of time.
Barrister Sonny Daudu, what are your thoughts? What are your perspectives? I mean, with a subsisting court order restraining the conduct of the election, has it changed anything?
Yes, any court order of court, any order of court must be obeyed. As it stands today, the local government elections have been put in abeyance. But surprisingly and disappointingly also, the chairman, with due respect, a former jurist, argued that they have not been served.
Yes. Is it that something should be considered? Is that not something should be considered?
No, sir. There's what we call constructive notice. The law allows constructive notice. Once a judgment of court is given and it comes to your hearing, it is immaterial.
Maybe he has not heard.
Maybe he
has not heard about
it. He heard. He said he has not been served. He didn't say he didn't know that whether there was judgment. Because I watched him. He said the commission have not been served. Forgotten that there is a constructive notice given. It is the danger of denying that order is that you will inure in their disadvantage. They didn't. You see, they don't look at all of this. They look at it one-way traffic. The danger inherent of saying we have not been served is also will inure in their disadvantage. What is the disadvantage? Ordinarily, an ex parte order by law ought to last in the first instance for several days. Now you have denied the existence. If it is served on you, maybe 3 or 4, 5 days time, the notice will start counting from that day.
That it was given?
It was given. No, the day you were served.
Okay.
So if you have even accepted it, maybe the next adjourned day they will go and say vacate it because the 5 days have elapsed so that we can continue. Now you said the 5 days, the 7 days have not allowed, you have not been served. They maybe delay service. After that, they will now go and serve you a day to the next hearing. Then the 7 days start running. So it is also not in the advantage to say we have not been served. But whether he has been served or not, there is a subsidiary court judgment. To his knowledge, to the commission's knowledge, they didn't deny his existence. They only argued that they have not been served.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, whether they have been served or not, as I said, there is what they call personal service, there's what we call constructive service. Under the doctrines of constructive service, the commission have been served. It therefore means that it was wrongful for the organizing secretary of the party, or whoever it is, or even the secretary to the commission, to issue a notice of extending the periods of primaries where there was a consistent court order. What they would have done in this instance, the former jurist, now a judge, through the secretary, could have put a court through the court, if he says he doesn't know, to put matter beyond doubt, to have done their due diligence, to now discover that such order doesn't exist. Premise on that you have found out from the court that was given, they gave the judgment, they said never gave such a judgment,
yeah.
And I thought you can proceed. That document that was issued yesterday is also nugatory because it was issued after a valid judgment of court was given. So therefore, any person who rely on that extension to conduct his primary, that primary will also be rendered nugatory even if they produce a candidate for the election. Now let me even go to the nitty-gritty of the issue as to even the election itself be fixed. Now, my brother here has argued, rightly so, that it was even short. It's not sure whether it is short. It is even issue the constitutionality or otherwise of the notice.
Okay, let me just pause it out. I'll come back to you so I can get Idris Zachary and Bob Manuel Umoru to contribute to the discussion. They are joining us via WhatsApp. Bob and Idris, thanks again for staying with us on the program. Let's get your perspectives on the events unfolding as it relates to the Edo State local government election. Let me begin with you, Bob Manuel Umoru.
Thank you for having me. I want to say, I think for once I am beginning to have a stronger faith in our judicial system. I've never lost touch with the judiciary, and I have always believed it still remains the bridging gap between the government and the government. What we have in the state today, as long as the local government issue is concerned, is not just an issue of constitutionality alone. It goes to expose the character of those we have in government. It goes to expose the character of a lot of persons who are supposed to be taking responsibility for the governance of our society. Having said that, whatever we are facing today as regards the local government election is purely political, and I have my reasons. And if time will permit me, I will take us through the journey. But not to waste our time, the position of the law is what the court has stated, and every well-meaning citizen of the state, especially those in government, have no option than to abide by the dictate or the position that the court has given just a few days ago. And why do I say this? You would remember that there are procedures of amending a constitution or a law to fit into a particular space in time. All that has been beaten. I'm happy the two gentlemen on the studio are lawyers. I am not a lawyer, and so they have spoken well, and they've enlightened the public as the position of the law. How do we have the federal constitution stating that 150 days notice should be given as amended, and the government of the state hurriedly called on the Edo State House of Assembly to mutate the law to bring it to 15 days notice? And you will ask, what is the rationale behind this? These are the things people need to know. They need to question why a local government was shut down for over a year, and why the headman of the state is in a hurry to bring in a working local government election against constitutional provision. Now, it's been to constitution, that of the People's Democratic Party, and of course, that of the nation, the 1999 constitution as amended. You would ask yourself, why is Godwin Obaseki-led administration, and of course the Marcus Onogun-led parliament in a hurry or hurriedly, within 15 minutes, would turn a whole law to something that will suit them? Now we ask ourselves, are we puppets? Are we in a state where everybody is a dummy? Don't we have sanctity anymore? Okay. And don't we as a people...
Bob, let me just pause you for a moment. You said the law was hurriedly passed in 15 minutes. I'm not sure you are a member of the State House of Assembly to be able to know the duration it took for that law to be passed. But I'll pause you there for a moment and get you in so that you can give us some deeper perspectives on this issue. But let me get Idris to react to what is developing as far as the Edo State local government election is concerned. Yes, Idris.
First of all, thank you for having me here today. You see, you cannot build, there is no such reality as building something on nothing. And that is exactly the miracle we are trying to perform in Edo State. When I say we, I mean the government of Edo State. Because, of course, the people are the government. And the quality of the government you have reflects on the quality of the people in that particular area. So that's why I say we. If you look back at the State House of Assembly, Edo State House of Assembly is the only assembly in Nigeria that is operating against constitutional provisions. The Constitution says minimum of 24, maximum of 40. The lawyers, the gentlemen lawyers in the House can confirm if this is right or wrong according to the laws of our lands today. Only Edo State is performing legislative duties with 10. And so you see, illegality begets illegality. Because we have only 10, that is why they can pass within 24 hours a law that took so many years to craft, that took so much effort, took public hearing. There was no public hearing. You adjust it all of a sudden to fit your whims and caprices. I have said it before and I am saying it again. The essence of conducting local government elections starts and ends with the 2023 primaries of the People's Democratic Party. The man in charge, you have told me to be very civil, and I'm trying to be as civil as I can. The governor of Edo State needs more delegates in his party, having lost in the political equation of his party. That is why he's creating this problem for the state, creating local government, trying to form local government that don't exist according to law, and bringing them in, putting 15 days notice in place of 150 days, just to have enough people. We have a lot of problems going on in the state. You all of a sudden you wake up to realize that local government don't exist in Edo State, having shut them down for 2 years plus. The other speaker said 1 year, it's over 2 years already.
Okay, but when you say, Idris, just a moment, when you say local government don't exist, there are those who will disagree with you because local government exists with civil servants in charge running local government. To say it doesn't exist, I mean, that's a bit too far. And then secondly, I need us to stay on course on the issues that we're looking at as related to the local government administration.
No, we are, of course.
I know that for a while people will say, "Oh, there is no local government administration in place elected." It was just a moment. Local government elected in the state.
Okay.
Now, someone has made the effort, I mean, constitutionally empowered to do so, to right the wrongs and then put the local government executive in place. It's still being criticized. I don't get the point, Idris.
Now, you say someone is trying to right the wrongs. The question is, first of all, who created the wrongs? The person who created the wrongs has now suddenly woke up to right the wrongs. Fantastic. But how are you righting the wrongs? By creating more wrongs against the standard procedure, against the Constitution of the Federal Republic, against the Electoral Act as amended. So you are trying to solve a problem with a problem, creating more problems for society. And when I say local government do not exist, the people who crafted the Constitution that said there must be elected local government chairmen, there must be councillors, are not stupid. They had their thinking. They knew civil servants are there. Civil servants can do certain jobs, but they said there must be elected local government chairmen. And this is the closest government to the people. If they are not elected, they do not have the right of the people. They do not have the approval of the people to carry out responsibilities. That's why we have consistently fought against appointment of caretaker committees for local government.
Okay.
The local government is not an arm of the executive of the state government. Yeah. The local government is a government on its own that has its own arms and duties.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Idris.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll keep tabs with you in a moment. Let me come back to the studio. One of the panelists who joined us via WhatsApp, I'm sure both of them, seems to have this conviction that what's playing out in the local government election preparation is the fallout of the ruling party or the fallout in the ruling party. Would you want to ventilate your views along those lines, Barrister Yahweh?
While I will wrestle with the temptation of getting into political disagreements but sadly, the issues for which he has referenced are issues that touches on the internal organ of the PDP, as it were. But to my mind, in the course of trying to play politics, do not project yourself as someone whose ethics and etiquettes for democratic tenets are eroded. I feel very strongly. Doesn't matter what the politics is in their own political party. To within the context of the law, the time for notice provided by the law, you within that period amend the law to reduce it. It's retroactive, for heaven's sake. If this amendment was done, for example, in January, and way after the pre-existing law, the period provided by the pre-existing law, after it, you give notice with respect to the 15 days. I may not have little or no problem with it. But within the period provided by the pre-existing law, you amend it to abridge the time. It's retroactive from our point of view. Whatever is the issues bordering the executive arm of government for which they want to hurriedly amend the law, they should go and resolve themselves. We are ministers and advocates for democratic tenets. Democracy, the people must always lead. For the sake of yourself, you cannot amend the law to the detriment of the people. I feel more so, what is more in all this is that there is an existing court order restraining. And like my friend have rightly posited, Honorable Justice Oyomire, retired, must tread with caution. He was a judge of the High Court, and he knows very strongly that no matter how perverse, wrongly made an order of court is, it must be obeyed until set aside. Whether the Federal Court of Abuja lacks jurisdiction to interface, because there have been arguments that the election is a state elections, the law that provides for the election is a state law, and as such, the Federal Court lacks the jurisdiction. I have not seen the originating processes that have been filed. In hindsight, one can easily dismiss that they do not have jurisdiction. But
the standing precedent and position of the law is that no matter how perverse an order of court is, it must be obeyed until set aside. As we stand, there's already an order of court restraining the electoral body in Edo State, headed by Justice retired, for conducting that election to go further, to release any notice extending time amount to content of another, of a court of competent jurisdiction, whether it is perverse or not. And we all tend to tread with caution, so that we don't mess the entire system up.
All right. Barrister Daudu, let's get your take on the grounds for this restraining order, and then what are the options going forward as far as the Edo State local government election is concerned?
Well, prior to the order being given, I have actually espoused the options that were left for the ESIAC in order for them to proceed. One of the options was that they needed to issue a fresh notice that will contemplate minimum of 30 days to set aside the earlier notice that was within 19 or 15 days. Okay. If they have done that, they will have a ground. Other political parties, of course, can participate. Then it will be in tandem with the provisions of the Constitution for minimum requirement. They have not done that. Now there is a court order. The question now is that until that order is vacated, any other thing that is done while this order is subsisting is nugatory in law. It doesn't exist. Okay. And if they proceed to conduct the elections would have been conducted on grounds of illegality. And I will not expect that a former jurist will allow his office for now as chairman of ESIAC to rubbish his precedent or antecedent or his status as a former jurist in the state. So to me, it should be very circumspect in disregarding court orders. Okay. Because that has been a trend, with regard to court orders. Yeah. Immediately you assume another position, you start disregarding court order. He shouldn't be found, especially that he's a jurist.
All right, let me pursue there because I'm really pressed for time. Hope we have this connection much earlier, but we would have much time to talk more. But I'd like to get Bob Manuel Umoru on board. Bob, you were saying a while ago that part of the problem is that the crisis rocking the party in the state is also rearing its ugly head in this local government election. Would you want to take us further on that line?
Yes. I said so with available evidence which is known to the public, including every one of us on this panel. You are aware that immediately we rescued Governor Godwin Obaseki from his political storm. The party made a decision in 2020 that a lot of us were against. And if that decision was not made, by now Obaseki will be resting in his political purgatory, along with every other person that made up this very poor team that is leading the state today. Immediately we were through with that election, the man started a very strong battle with the party, all about structure grabbing. And you ask, you have been rescued from a party that you said refused or stopped you from working, that the party gave you a wrong platform, and now you are in a better platform. You want to deliver the dividend of democracy to the people. One would expect that such a governor who was adorned as a technocrat would begin to work on the things that bothers about developing the state, first of which is security. Security is the most important aspect of every government, and is the most important responsibility of every government, upon which every other thing is crested, be it economy, be it political activity, education, and all the rest of it.
Yeah, but you also remember, Bob, that at that time, the party chairman in the state also identified the governor as the leader of the party. I mean, if he doesn't take a hold of the party, what is he leading? Which party is he leading? Isn't that a factor in this conversation? I need to quickly anchor that point because we are pressed for time.
Okay, aside the failure for him to win the battle of structure grabbing, whatever the state chairman has said was made out of error. And there is nobody who cannot make error. The leader of the party in the state is not the governor. PDP has its protocols. The governor is the number 4 person in the state according to the structure of the party. He knows that. And we have it on notable ground. The last convention spelled it clearly. When the Edo Protocol was written, his name came out number 4. We have the national vice chairman, the deputy national vice chairman, Chief Danobi. We have the former national woman leader as number 2. We have the zonal executive there as number 3, and the governor as number 4. Now, when you say the governor is the leader of the party in the state, he is a leader in the state, but not the leader of the party in the state. There is no constitutional provision to that in our own constitution.
Okay, now, let me just try and help you stay on course on the local government election. I'd like to get a final word from you on what you think can be done to find a lasting solution to this issue, if there is any.
The only option on ground is the court, and the court has spoken. Until the case is decided in the court, nothing should happen in Edo.
Okay, all right. Let me pause you there. Let me pause you, Bob Manda. I hope to be able to get you back on this show some other time. But let's get Idris to quickly ventilate his views and perspectives on where we are and what can be done to salvage the situation. Idris.
Well, the governor of Edo State must have the fear of God, and as a leader, you cannot lead without followers. So he must have the fear of God and lead, as it ought to be. I also want to commend the People's Democratic Party in Edo State. I am one of those who have had very acerbic views of the PDP. But they have shown that they are a party that recognize members, that recognize leadership, and they have stood their ground, even against oppression and intimidation. This is what the APC could not do, that allowed them to throw away a national chairman just to satisfy the whims of a local chairman. So I commend the PDP. I am encouraging the governor to have the fear of God.
Okay,
and finally, we must respect
I'd like to
the law. Let us respect
Thank you. Thank you, Idris. If I have more time, I certainly would have continued with our conversation. But let's get our panelists in the studio here to quickly give their final words on the local government election. So the court order restraining it stands until it is vacated. When that will happen, we don't know. Barrister Violence.
Yeah, I am told the return date for that matter is on the 16th.
And I expect that rather than create the impression that you have not been served, put your house in order. Okay. If you have anything strong and viral to say, go to the courts and even raise issues of jurisdictions that the court doesn't have. And I'm also aware that there are other cases already filed against the same election within the state. So between now and then, you will hear a whole lot. What is more is that the amendment done by the House of Assembly is improper.
Okay. Barrister Daudu,
yes,
quickly.
the order, of course, remains valid, but is set aside. Consequently, any action should not be taken by ESSEC in pursuant to the conduct of the local government elections. But if that is done, whatever they do now will be an illegal act.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time and your patience. Bob Manuel Umoru and Idris Zachary join us via WhatsApp from Lagos. Idris and Bob, thank you again for staying with us on the program.
Thank you so much.
And Bob, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Barrister Daudu, thank you again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll take a short break. Stay TMI Thursday. We'll be back with you in a moment. Don't go away.